Welcome to the Go Find Out podcast. I'm Jennifer Jelliff Russell, author, speaker, and entrepreneur, bringing you actionable ideas and interviews with awesome women to help you pursue your dreams and achieve your goals. You can find more episodes of the Go Find Out podcast by visiting gofindoutpodcast.com. Enjoy the show and go find out. Welcome back to the Go Find Out podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Jelliff Russell, and this is episode number 64. In today's solo show, I'll be talking about how this podcast will shift just a tiny bit to focus more on helping women go find out when it comes to switching careers. But don't worry, I'll still be interviewing awesome women who have kicked their fears to the curb to go after their goals. I'll just be focusing more on their career goals, which, in all honesty, was pretty much what I was already talking about with guests anyway. There will also still be a really good mix of women who work for traditional employers and women who run their own businesses. Right now, I'm most interested in women switching to technology-related fields, so you'll definitely hear about a lot of opportunities for jumping into well-paying tech fields, even if you don't consider yourself super techie. In fact, the guest in my next interview is the founder of a user experience user interface design program and doesn't require students to have a background in tech or design to get started, which is pretty cool. But don't worry, I will also be exploring other career fields besides tech. You'll also still get solo episodes in between guests, but the information will shift slightly to focus on helping you successfully manage a career switch. And I'll still be providing personal updates with the slight additional twist of sharing my experiences of upskilling in order to switch careers because I'll be taking free online courses where possible to upskill. Now, it's likely you'll see the logo for the podcast change soon, and I'll probably add Career Switch to the name somehow. But this is still the Go Find Out podcast, which focuses on empowering women like yourself to go after their goals. All right. All that said, let's jump into my new personal update. Hello, career switchers. It has been a really busy past 2 weeks with a holiday coming up and trying to wrap up finishing book 4 of the Artemis Necklace series. I did end up finishing NaNoWriMo on time, woohoo, and I made it to 50,000 words before the end of November, so yay! However, I do still have about 20,000 more words to go before the actual book is finished. I'd kind of hope to be done by the end of December so that I can get back to my next nonfiction, which is tentatively titled The Introverted Job Seeker. That one is mostly finished, but I need to get back in it just for a few rounds of edits and then to add a little bit more information before sending it to my editor officially. So I'm shooting for a February release on that nonfiction one. In between those projects, I've been dabbling in some free courses and training on a variety of tech-related careers. Like I mentioned in the intro, I am super interested in tech right now, and the first course that I actually took was on UX, UI design, or user experience and user interface design, which is all about designing user-friendly applications and websites. The free course that I did was through Coursera and was created by Georgia Tech. It was really just kind of a basic overview of what user experience and user interface design actually entails and how it works. So it was not really meant to prepare one to make the full leap into UX UI design. And just in case you're interested in sort of dabbling in UI UX design, I dropped the link for that free Georgia Tech training from Coursera in the show notes so you can check it out. So while the training that I did does not fully prepare you to leap into a new career, there are some programs that do help you make that full switch into the field, and I'll actually be interviewing the founder of one of those paid programs in the next episode, which was really fun. I've also enrolled in Salesforce's free training platform called Trailhead. So in case you're not familiar with Salesforce, in a nutshell, it's cloud-based customer relationship management software where organizations can maintain and manage their data. Honestly, that's really boiling it down, but basically organizations use Salesforce to track client and sales information. When I worked at Wounded Warrior Project, we used Salesforce, and I really like the ease of tracking interactions with my clients and then finding that information later and tracking their documentation, all that fun type stuff. So now I'm slowly learning the back end of Salesforce through their free program called Trailhead. And it's a free program for everyone. So if you are interested in getting into, Salesforce administration or anything along those lines, you can definitely check that out. It's been really interesting so far, but definitely not something that comes to me intuitively, sort of like building a website did. It's definitely something I kind of have to work at. So that actually brings me to my solo show today. changing careers, and where to get started. And just in case you're interested in Salesforce, I'll drop a link to Salesforce Trailhead as well if that's something you're interested in checking out. But let's jump into talking about changing careers. As someone who has had 29 jobs, I think it's safe to say that I like the challenge of switching careers. Sometimes my career switches have gone really well, but sometimes I have leapt without looking or researching that new field as hard as I should have, and that has bitten me in the ass with fast burnout or just unhappiness in the job. Which leads me to today's focus: how to look before you make the leap into a totally new field. If you've ever considered making the leap to a new career, you know that the sheer amount of data available on any field is massively overwhelming. And if you happen to sign up to learn more about a course, certification, or school related to that topic, you can expect to be inundated by emails at the least and phone calls from schools at the worst. And who cold calls anyone anymore, honestly? I mean, besides those extended warranty places and scammers anyways. So the first thing that I recommend doing to kind of avoid data overwhelm is to first read articles on what it's like to actually do that job. To keep your initial search on that new field as simple as possible, first, I would do a search for a day in the life of X and insert your career field of interest as X. So a day in the life of a UX designer, or a day in the life of a freelance writer, or whatever your field of interest is. Only read a handful of these articles, and by that I mean maybe 2 to 4 of these, and be wary of anything that paints the field as being all puppy dogs and rainbows, right? We all know that every field has its pros and cons, so give more weight to those articles that seem more realistic in describing daily challenges in that field. If, after reading this information, you decide you're not interested, then move on and look up another field that you are more interested in. But if you're still interested in this field after reading several articles about what it's actually like to work in that field, then the next step is to look at free courses on that topic. For me, completing free beginner-level training for that career field really helps me make the decision on whether or not I actually want to pursue making the switch to that career. It's fine if you struggle with the training, but are still interested in the topic. However, if you start the training and find it boring or you can't seem to get through any of it, this might be a sign that it's not a great career switch for you. You might look for a different course or training on that topic just in case it's the course itself that's turning you off. But if the second or third course you take, again, free course that you take, yields the same results, then you might consider a different field. The next thing is, if while taking the training, you're still not sure if that field is quite the right choice for you, see if you can find a group or online community of folks who are trying to do the same thing as you are. You can do this by looking on LinkedIn for groups or Facebook groups on that career field. One great thing about a lot of free courses these days is that most of the time they also give you access to a free community of other folks like yourself who are interested in getting into the same field or are already part of that field. For example, that Trailhead Salesforce training has an internal community where you can join groups of folks who regularly answer questions about Salesforce as a career. There are also groups of other beginners where you can commiserate or connect with folks who are trying to switch careers just like you. Connecting with a community of people interested in your same field can be really helpful, not just because it can act as a support network, but because it can also give you insight into whether or not this is really something that you want to actively pursue. Next, I always recommend that folks who are interested in a new field should look at job leads for roles in that field. Not because you need to start applying right away, but more so that you can get an idea of what kind of experience, skills, education, and/or certifications are needed to land a position in that field. While looking at job descriptions, start a list of certifications, education, and specific experience that roles in that field are looking for in candidates. This will help you create a roadmap of what you need to accomplish in order to successfully land a position. Lastly, but the part that we all love doing, check out the salary expectations for the roles in that new field. The thing to be aware of, though, is that when looking up salary expectations in a new field, is that you don't want to focus on the high-end salaries. I know, we all want to do this, and I have caught myself doing it many times. We all want to picture ourselves making this, huge salary. But the reality is that when leaping into a new field, you're going to start on the lower end of that salary range. Make sure your expectations are in line with the amount of relevant experience and education that you would be bringing to the role. If you've got a lot to learn or a lot of experience to gain in order to get into that new field, then chances are you're going to start out at the lower end of that salary range. And by the way, if you're listening to this in the States, there's a free tool from the U.S. Department of Labor which tells you the national salary expectations that you can expect for particular fields. You can also use it to see how much you might expect in your particular state. I'll drop the link for that in the show notes. So, just to recap, to avoid being disappointed when leaping into a new field, follow these 5 steps. Learn what the job is like from folks who already do it. Complete free training to see if it's what you want to do. Join a community of folks in the field or those interested in getting into that field. Use job leads to get a feel for what else you'll need to do to make the switch. And lastly, look up the average salary for that field to make sure that your expectations are in line with reality. All right, that's all I've got for today. I hope you like the new shift for the show. And if you like career-related content, definitely follow me on TikTok at EvergrowthCoach. There's a link for it in my show notes too, and I'm honestly having so much fun creating content on there around switching careers. Join me next time when I interview Maka Baiguria about her journey of starting Avocademy, an 8-week program which prepares non-tech, non-design folks for a career in UX, UI design. Until then, go find out. Thanks for listening to the show today. I hope you found the information beneficial and that it helps you tackle your own Go Find Out goals. You can find more episodes and the show transcripts at gofindoutpodcast.com. You can also let me know what you thought of the show by tweeting me at GFOpodcast or follow me on Instagram at GoFindOutPodcast. That's it for today. Now go find out.